This Valentine's Day, let Edible help you share the love with same-day and next-day delivery or local pickup. We make it easy to be the hero of the holiday. Choose from our signature fresh fruit arrangements, indulgent dessert boards, or baked treats that arrive ready to wow. Whether it's for a new flame or your forever sweetheart, let Edible arrange the details so you can focus on the moment. Order online at edible.com or visit your local store today to find the perfect gift.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And away we go, episode 1246 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, January 26, 2026. If you are in the Washington, D.C. area, like we are, we hope that the winter storm is going as well for you as reasonably possible. And if you are in the D.C. area, you perhaps are aware of the significance of this date, January 26th. This is the one-year anniversary of the Washington Commanders' 55-23 loss at the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game on January 26, 2025. And this is the 34-year anniversary of the Washington Redskins' 37-24 win over the Buffalo Bills at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota in Super Bowl 26 on January 26th. 1992. The last Super Bowl appearance for Washington happened 34 years ago on this date, January 26th. The last Super Bowl win for Washington happened 34 years ago on this date, January 26th. Here's a clip from the NFL Films documentary on the 1991 Redskins. This clip is from the portion of the documentary on Super Bowl 26. You'll hear the great Harry Callis as the narrator, and you'll hear the radio play-by-play calls of Frank Herzog, Sonny Jurgensen, and Sam Huff. Here you go.
In the second quarter, the Redskins went to the no-huddle, rolled the pass pocket, and Mark Rippon went to work.
Got Sanders at the 20, grabs the ball and pulled down at the 16. Rippon back to pass on a quick shot. Throws it in the near flat to Biner at the 5, dives for the corner. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. Yeah!
Joe Gibbs' balanced juggernaut rolled to 17 unanswered points, leaving the Bills reeling and on the ropes by intermission.
Rippon hands to Riggs over the right side. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. Rippon runs back up the field, sprints up on his fist.
He is excited. I have never seen Rippon so excited. I mean, he's
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He hasn't been here before.
Yeah, I so love hearing that, and the cheesy music makes that even better. Here's a clip from the end of the documentary, wrapping up the Skins Super Bowl 26 victory.
For the third time in 10 years, Joe Gibbs and the Redskins scaled the heights of football greatness. The 1991 Washington Redskins are an honor to the team's glorious past and the world champions of pro football's present.
And there you go. A magical time, but a long time ago. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, discussion of a number of Commanders and Commanders-related items over the last few days, including significant developments in the team's defensive coordinator search and the departure of Director of College Scouting Tim Gribble, who had been with Washington since 2002. So a lot of moving pieces with the Commanders' defensive coordinator search. I'll explain. And yeah, this guy, Tim Gribble, gone after being with the team for 24 years. There regarding his departure is a lot of information that we don't have, including was this more of a firing or him leaving on his own. But either way, another major change for the Commanders since their disastrous 2025 season ended. Also on the show, I'll talk Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards, and college basketball. As never forget, this is the podcast that follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. The Caps over the weekend went 1-0-1. Late night on Friday night, a 3-1 win at the Calgary Flames as the Caps snapped a 4-game losing streak. Late night on Saturday night, a 6-5 overtime loss at the Edmonton Oilers in a game in which the Caps blew a 4-3 third period lead and blew a 5-4 lead in the final minute of the third period. The Caps have not had a winning streak since their 6-game winning streak consisting of games that took place from November 24th through December 3rd. We are approaching the Caps going without a winning streak for 2 months. The rebuilding and tanking Wizards, they do not know much about winning streaks. The Wizards over the weekend lost their 9th consecutive game, a 119-115 loss at the Charlotte Hornets on Saturday afternoon in a game in which the Wizards made history. I'll explain. And in college basketball over the weekend had losses for Maryland, number 14 Virginia, Virginia Tech, and George Mason, but wins for Georgetown, George Washington, and VCU. The Hoyas had quite the win. They snapped a 6-game losing streak with an 81-78 win at Providence on Saturday afternoon in a game in which the Hoyas overcame a 21-point second-half deficit. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on the Washington Nationals this past Thursday evening, announcing having traded starting pitcher Mackenzie Gore to the Texas Rangers for 5 prospects. On Friday's show, episode 1245, talked at length about the trade. And I and my co-host, Nats insider Mark Zuckerman of MASNsports.com on the Nats Chat podcast, did an installment of that podcast on the trade. That episode came out this past Saturday morning and includes a conversation that we had with Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, who was great. I really enjoyed talking to him. And I on Nats Chat discussed the lack of anger from Nats fans toward Mike Rizzo. A lot of Nats fans are furious about this trade, and I get the anger. The phrase that I've been using for over a year now is rebuild fatigue. There is big time rebuild fatigue with Nats fans. The team has had 6 consecutive losing regular seasons since winning the 2019 World Series. The overwhelming majority of the anger over the Mackenzie Gore trade is being directed at Nats ownership, the Lerner ownership group, for its lack of spending for years now. I totally get that. But Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner last July 6th announcing having fired Nats president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo and having fired manager Davey Martinez was an admission of something that I'd been saying for weeks. The Nats rebuild wasn't working. The rebuild was a failure. This trade of Mackenzie Gore is another admission that the rebuild was a failure, but the rebuild wasn't a failure solely because of ownership. The bad drafting and bad player development under Mike Rizzo were massive reasons for the team, A, entering the rebuild, and B, failing in the rebuild. And Rizzo, to me, too often gets a free pass from not just Nats fans, but members of the media. And I say this as someone who has great respect for Rizzo, but the truth is the truth. Email from Michael King writes, Mike, hi Al, I for one am very mad at Mike Rizzo. It was his absolute disaster with player acquisition and player development for a decade that is at the heart of this current mess. Combine that with his arrogance, and this makes a person a little sick. The Lerners have their role in all of this too, certainly. They don't seem to have the chops to win since Ted died, and now the Lerners are getting plenty of hatred. But Rizzo was the architect. Thanks, as always, for the shows. Thank you for the email, Mike. I don't know if Mike Rizzo is arrogant, but there with him, at least publicly, was like a delusion about things not being as bad as they were. Things are bad, really bad. The Nats are broken, and what Paul Taboni is trying to do is fix the Nats, and I applaud what Taboni is doing, especially in getting the Nats to go in on analytics and sports science like never before. Email from Joel Charney. Writes Joel, well, it's official. Rebuild 2.0 is underway. The Rizzo rebuild is now officially a failure, and Nats fans face, at least another 2 to 3 years of watching a struggling team. I'm fine with trading Gore, but I was expecting the Nats to trade for major league ready players. So when is the cavalry going to arrive? It looks like Paul Taboni is set on building a team around Eli Willits, Gavin Feen, Devin Fitzgerald, and maybe James Wood and Dylan Cruz if they don't get too expensive, with a target date of 2028 at the earliest. I'd love to know who is going to take the mound for the Nats in 2026 with Gore out of the picture. Thank you for the email, Joel. I really liked what Paul Taboni with us on Nats Chat said about the timeline for this latest Nats rebuild. Take a listen to this.
The way I see it is it's not up for, to me to dictate like with great specificity what the timeline is going to be, right? Because things can change so quick. If James and Dalen and CJ and whoever, right, go out, Cade and, all our guys go out there and have unbelievable years this year, right? They are accelerating the point at which like we are motivated to really push the chips in, right? And so things can change pretty quickly, right? So what may be perceived as, more of a longer term stocking of the system and competitive outlook, that can shorten as things change, right? And the opposite is true as well, right? And so we like to keep a super open mind on it. I'm not trying to be coy here. I think it's just the reality of it, right? Like we want to be open-minded. We want to see how things evolve over time. And if our prospects and our major league talent develops at a pace that outpaces kind of what our expectations, what we thought they were going to do, then we're going to adjust our strategy, right? But we just want to be disciplined in the present moment in terms of like, hey, what our strategy is.
Paul Taboni is 100% right about what he said. Paul Taboni can say whatever he wants about the timeline of this latest Nats rebuild. We can say whatever we want about the timeline of this latest Nats rebuild. But the truth is that what ultimately will determine the timeline of this latest Nats rebuild is how well the rebuild goes, how well the key young players do. The key young players have not been doing well enough. That needs to change, and hopefully more key young players get to the major league level and do well. Something that I'm really interested in seeing this coming season is how much the Nats' improved process with analytics and sports science can help the key young players, can perhaps take people like outfielders James Wood, Dylan Cruz, and Dalen Lyle, and shortstop C.J. Abrams, if he isn't traded, and third baseman Brady House, and catcher Harry Ford to higher levels. And regarding the Nats' 2026 rotation, about that. Assuming health, the likely rotation would seem to be in some order: Josiah Gray, Cade Cavalli, Foster Griffin, Brad Lord, and Jake Irvin. But that certainly can change. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. InjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in, you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. InjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C. InjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. So the Washington Commanders still do not have a defensive coordinator, but we over the weekend had multiple notable developments in this situation. First of all, two candidates who the Commanders had interviewed for their defensive coordinator vacancy now are off the board. We on Sunday morning had reports that the Green Bay Packers are hiring fired Arizona Cardinals head coach and former Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon as defensive coordinator. And we on Sunday afternoon had reports that the New York Giants are hiring Denard Wilson as defensive coordinator. He spent the last two seasons as the Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator. Also, two new candidates for Commanders defensive coordinator. We on Friday morning had reports that the Commanders had interviewed Terrell Austin for their defensive coordinator vacancy. He spent the last 4 seasons as the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive coordinator. And we on Sunday morning had reports that the Commanders on Sunday were to interview Minnesota Vikings defensive passing game coordinator / defensive backs coach Durante Jones for the Commanders defensive coordinator vacancy. I like Durante Jones. The Commanders could not get Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, but now maybe the Commanders can get a key member of Flores' staff in Jones. But man, you need a scorecard to keep track of this Commanders defensive coordinator search. The list of those who the Commanders reportedly have interviewed or were to interview for their defensive coordinator vacancy: Las Vegas Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, Kansas City Chiefs defensive line coach Joe Cullen, Denard Wilson, who spent the last 2 seasons as the Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator, though he's now off the board, Seattle Seahawks defensive passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach Carl Scott, Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, though he's no longer a candidate off the Vikings last Wednesday evening having announced having signed Flores to a contract extension, fired Arizona Cardinals head coach and former Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, though he's now off the board, Chicago Bears defensive backs coach and defensive passing game coordinator Al Harris, Terrell Austin, who spent the last 4 seasons as the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive coordinator and Minnesota Vikings defensive passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach Durante Jones. 9 candidates. You got all of that. There will be a quiz later in the show. For me, the 2 most intriguing guys on that list in terms of candidates still on the board are Carl Scott and Durante Jones. 2 guys with extensive backgrounds in pass defense, which does matter more than run defense, and 2 guys who come from excellent, modern, forward-thinking defenses, and those are the Seahawks and Vikings, respectively. But there's a lot that we just don't know about these defensive coordinator candidates, so there, to me, is a humility that you need to have with this search. Like, you can think all kinds of things. I certainly do. But in terms of, like, being certain that you know all kinds of things, yeah, not so much. There's just a lot about these DC candidates that we don't know. And here's the other thing. They're in this 2026 NFL coaching cycle, have been 10 head coaching vacancies and a bunch more defensive coordinator vacancies. And so the Commanders have stiff competition in this defensive coordinator search. This is not a good offseason to be looking for a defensive coordinator. We don't know who the Commanders' top choices have been, but Brian Flores gone, Jonathan Gannon gone, Denard Wilson gone, who knows who else might be gone. And it's not like this Commanders' defensive coordinator vacancy is super attractive, okay? Like, let's be honest. Given the lack of great talent on the team's defense, and given that the head coach Dan Quinn is a head coach with a defensive background, and given that Quinn would appear to be on the hot seat, all of these things work against the Commanders in this ultra-competitive defensive coordinator market. That, to me, is why they have expanded their search. They need more candidates. Meantime, we on Saturday had reports that Commanders Director of College Scouting Tim Gribble is joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why? We don't know. Is this more him leaving or the Commanders getting rid of him? We don't know. We do know that Gribble has deep ties to Pittsburgh. Gribble was a 2-sport athlete at Duquesne. He played football, was a fullback, and played baseball. He then was an assistant coach for Duquesne football, and he then was an assistant in the Steelers scouting department. Tim Gribble joined the Redskins in 2002. He, in June 2017, was promoted to assistant director of college scouting. He, in January 2020, was promoted to director of college scouting. That this guy lasted with Washington for so long over so many different incarnations of the team's football operation says a lot about him. I mean, it's hard to be bad at what you do and yet last that long in the same place. 2002 to 2026, Tim Gribble lasted through the following Washington head coaches: Steve Spurrier, Joe Gibbs, Jim Zorn, Mike Shanahan, Jay Gruden, Ron Rivera, and Dan Quinn. Quite the run. I had to laugh, though, when I saw the Tim Gribble news on Saturday. So I mentioned that Gribble in June 2017 was promoted by the Skins to assistant director of college scouting. His promotion in June 2017 was part of a front office reshuffling by the Skins that offseason off the firing of Scott McLuhan as general manager in March 2017. And the Skins in June 2017 held a press conference announcing the reshuffling, including the promotion of Doug Williams from senior personnel executive to senior vice president of player personnel. But this press conference, as so many things with the team were at that time, was a confusing mess. The Skins did not put out a one-sheet or anything like that announcing the new titles for people, many of whom most fans knew little about, including Tim Gribble. And so you had to cobble together for yourself what the promotions were, what the changes were. And throughout the press conference, we kept hearing about this guy, Tim Gribble. And it's kind of a funny sounding last name, right? Gribble. Who is this guy Gribble? Oh, Tim Gribble's great. Oh, Tim Gribble getting promoted. Oh, Tim Gribble, what a swell guy. And I remember after that press conference saying to my good friend Kevin Sheehan, who the heck is Tim Gribble? Now, I knew who Tim Gribble was, but that's not the point. 99.9% of the fan base had no idea who Tim Gribble was. And yet the team, in its typical lack of self-awareness behavior and in the team's typical bad public relations way, acted like it was a given that everyone knew who Tim Gribble was. Tim Gribble, long live Tim Gribble. Also, over the weekend, not one but two head coaching interviews for Commanders run game coordinator / running backs coach Anthony Lynn. The Buffalo Bills on Saturday evening announced having completed an interview of Lynn for their head coaching vacancy. The Cleveland Browns on Sunday morning announced having completed an interview of Lynn for their head coaching vacancy on Saturday night. And my take on this is, I hope that Anthony Lynn gets a head coaching job. You go, Anthony Lynn. Not because I want him to leave the Commanders, but because if an NFL team during this coaching cycle hires Lynn as head coach, the Commanders get 2 third-round compensatory draft picks, one in the 2026 NFL Draft and one in the 2027 NFL Draft. This per NFL rules, designed to encourage the development of minority coaches. Anthony Lynn, because he has been on the Commanders coaching staff for at least 2 seasons, would garner the Commanders 2 third-round compensatory draft picks if he got hired as an NFL head coach, even though Lynn already has been an NFL head coach. Lynn was the Los Angeles Chargers head coach from January 2017 to January 2021. I like Anthony Lynn, but the Commanders need to replenish their diminished draft capital, and so I gladly will take 2 third-round comp picks in exchange for Lynn getting another head coaching job. By the way, odd deal. The Commanders this month reportedly didn't even interview Anthony Lynn for their offensive coordinator vacancy, and yet he over the weekend interviewed for 2 head coaching jobs, including maybe the number 1 head coaching vacancy in this coaching cycle, the Bills' head coaching vacancy. And then one more item. The Kansas City Chiefs. They on Friday announced the hiring of Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator. Yes, EB, back in the saddle again. A second stint for Eric Bieniemy as Chiefs offensive coordinator. Bieniemy was an offensive assistant for the Chiefs for each of Andy Reid's first 10 seasons as Chiefs head coach, the 2013 through 2022 seasons. Bieniemy was the Chiefs running backs coach for the 2013 through 2017 seasons. He was the Chiefs offensive coordinator for the 2018 through 2022 seasons. And then came his one season with our team, the Commanders. They on February 18th, 2023, announced the hiring of Eric Bieniemy as assistant head coach / offensive coordinator. The Commanders' offense in the 2023 regular season initially did well. This gets forgotten. The offense under Eric Bieniemy initially was good, but the offense then fell apart, mirroring what happened with their QB1 for that season, Sam Howell. Howell, in the 2023 regular season, started all 17 of the Commanders' games. He, over the first 10 games, had 17 touchdown passes versus 9 interceptions. He, over the last 7 games, had 4 touchdown passes versus 12 interceptions. He, for the 2023 regular season, threw an NFL worst 21 interceptions and took an NFL worst 65 sacks. There with Bieniemy, with the Commanders, also was controversy. he ran such arduous training camp practices that players practically revolted. Now, personally, I thought that was more of a bad look for the players than for Bieniemy, but that saga did not do Bieniemy any favors. Dan Quinn, during his introductory press conference as Commanders head coach on February 5th, 2024, announced that the team had fired Eric Bieniemy. Commanders insiders Nikki Javala and Sam Fortier of the Washington Post, they co-authored a piece that came out on February 8th, 2024. The headline of the piece, quote, Eric Bieniemy lasted one season with the Commanders. Here's what went wrong, end quote. And the piece detailed player frustration with Bieniemy. Quote, in the locker room, signs of frustration were evident throughout the season. After Washington's last game, a blowout loss to the Dallas Cowboys, tight end Logan Thomas was as direct as any player had been about the simmering tensions between Bieniemy and his players. I might be the only one to say it, but I think we had our ups and downs with Bieniemy. Thomas said, we had some good, we had some bad. It's one of those things where something new comes in after you've been used to something else for a couple years, and sometimes you can bang heads, but I respect him for coming to work every day and being the same person every day. Other players who were granted anonymity to speak candidly about internal team dynamics described Bieniemy as a hardworking coach who hamstrung his own efforts with poor communication, stubborn play calling, and a disregard for player feedback. Bieniemy did not respond to a request for comment. Multiple people said there was often confusion on game days because offensive adjustments were not clearly communicated to players, and assistants didn't seem to be on the same page. Behind the scenes, some players urged their position coaches to beg Bieniemy to run the ball more. The pass-heavy attack placed an extra burden on the offensive line and the quarterback, and when Washington's offense did run, it averaged the 7th most yards per carry in the NFL, 4.43 yards. I don't think they gave Howell a fair chance, a player said. I felt like we became a one-dimensional team. Another player blamed Rivera for not forcing Bieniemy to run the ball more or fixing the disconnect between the offensive and defensive staffs. We didn't play complementary football all year long, and that came back to haunt us, the player said. Some players felt Bieniemy's intense practices, though helpful in training camp, left them exhausted before games, and they believe the practices created a greater risk of injury. Bieniemy's title of assistant head coach gave him greater authority than most coordinators, allowing him to script practices and alter players' schedules during the week. One player felt Rivera delegated too much and failed to step in or make changes quickly when warranted. It was EB's effing team, another said. End quote. Yeah, I remember all of that. I'm sure that many of you do too. You know, the whole idea of Eric Bieniemy joining the Commanders as assistant head coach / offensive coordinator was for him to use his time with the Commanders as a springboard to a head coaching job. But that is not what ended up happening. He spent the 2024 season as UCLA's associate head coach and offensive coordinator. He spent the 2025 season as the Chicago Bears running backs coach, and now he's back with the Chiefs as offensive coordinator. Eric Bieniemy, EB, back as OC for Casey. There you go. Nova Fireplace and Stove. It is Northern Virginia's go-to expert for fireplaces. Transform the look and feel of your home and increase its value by visiting Nova Fireplace and Stove in Woodbridge, Virginia, or by visiting NovaFireplaceandStove.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you for $25 off any service. Nova Fireplace and Stove will make your fireplace elite. And here's what else Nova Fireplace and Stove offers: gas fireplace service and repair, chimney cleaning and brickwork repair, generator installation, panel replacements, and water heater repairs, smoke detectors, security lights, and more. Nova Fireplace and Stove is a family-owned, fully licensed and insured company with over-the-top credentials, gas and electrical master's licenses, a Class A contractor's license, and a long list of 5-star reviews to back all of this up. Every job includes a free in-home estimate, and for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast, Nova Fireplace and Stove is offering $25 off any service. Just mention that Al Galdi sent you. Nova Fireplace and Stove only works in Northern Virginia and thus knows the homes, the codes, and the people. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. Nova Fireplace and Stove in Woodbridge, Virginia, or NovaFireplaceandStove.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you for $25 off any service. Well, the Washington Capitals are in the midst of a 6-game road trip, their longest road trip in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. They now are 1-2-1 on this road trip, went 1-0-1 over the weekend. Late night on Friday night, a 3-1 win at the Calgary Flames as the Caps snapped a 4-game losing streak. Late night on Saturday night, a 6-5 overtime loss at the Edmonton Oilers in a game in which the Caps blew a 4-3 third period lead and blew a 5-4 lead in the final minute of the third period. The Caps in this regular season now are 25-21-7, including just 8-12-5 over their last 25 games. The overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night was something. The Caps allowed 2 Oilers players to each have at least 5 points.
Bouchard low, McDavid in front, the shot and a save made by Lindgren. Oh my! Denying Connor McDavid on the doorstep on what looked like the end of the game. Now the puck ahead for Protas. He'll move in right side and a centering attempt that goes up in the air outside the outstretched glove of Jacob Chychrun. A penalty coming on Washington. McDavid coming, shooting, and he scores, and it's over. Connor McDavid finishing it off with the overtime game-winning goal. Edmonton wins it 6-5.
John Walton on the Washington Capitals radio network. Oilers top-line center Connor McDavid, a.k.a. Connor McJesus. He in the overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night scored the game-winning even-strength goal just 47 seconds into overtime. McJesus also scored a third-period power play goal and had 3 assists, and he registered a game-high 12 total shot attempts, including a game-high 9 shots on goal. Also, the Caps got ripped by Oilers defenseman Evan Bouchard.
Toward center ice for Edmonton. And the drop to McDavid. I think you're going to see a lot of him the rest of the way. The drop to Bouchard. He looks and he scores. That's a hat trick for Evan Bouchard. All 3 goals tonight for the Edmonton Oilers defenseman in his 400th career National Hockey League game. And it's a 4-on-4 goal that ties this game at 3.
Evan Bouchard had a hat trick. He scored an even-strength goal in each period, and he had 3 assists, and he registered 11 total shot attempts, including 8 shots on goal. He became just the 4th defenseman in NHL history to have at least 3 goals and at least 3 assists in a regular season game. Yet the Caps in this game got worked by Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard. This was another game in which the Caps' number 2 goaltender Charlie Lindgren got bombarded with shots. Now, he's not having a great season, but what's also true is that it seems like every time Lindgren starts, he gets hung out to dry. Though this was an odd game in terms of the puck possession battle, the Caps had just 27 shots on goal to the Oilers' 40, but per natural stat trick had 57 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Oilers' 44, including 18 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Oilers' 12. Lindgren stopped just 34 of the 40 shots on goal that he faced. Also, he committed a second-period tripping minor. The win at the Flames late night on Friday night, the Caps starting goaltender was their number 1 goaltender, Logan Thompson. He stopped 25 of the 26 shots on goal that he faced. The Caps won the puck possession battle, 38 shots on goal to the Flames' 26, and per natural stat trick, 58 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Flames' 56, including 15 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Flames' 13. Logan Thompson for this regular season, goals against average of 2.39, save percentage of .914. Charlie Lindgren for this regular season, goals against average of 3.41, save percentage of .885. Bad weekend for Caps special teams. The win at the Flames late night on Friday night. The Caps went just 1 for 2 on the penalty kill and went 0 for 3 on the power play. The overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night. The Caps went just 4 for 5 on the penalty kill. Did go 1 for 5 on the power play. Caps third-line center Dylan Strome scored a power play goal 6:40 into the third period for his 14th goal in this regular season. Caps second-line left wing Alexi Protas, he scored a goal in each game over the weekend. The win at the Flames late night on Friday night. Protas scored an even-strength goal 7:35 into the third period. He joined Las Vegas Golden Knights center Jack Eichel as the only players in this regular season, each with at least 17 even-strength goals and 0 power power play goals. So the overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night. Protas scored an even-strength goal, 19:34 into the first period for his 18th goal in this regular season. He was number 4 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 64.52. The Caps with Protas on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had 20 shot attempts versus allowing 11 shot attempts. He did register a game worst plus-minus rating of -3. More assists for Caps defenseman John Carlson. The win at the Flames late night on Friday night. Carlson had a primary assist and did commit a first-period tripping minor, but the overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night, Carlson had 2 primary assists, giving him a team-best 34 assists in this regular season. Also, Caps defenseman Martin Fehervary, he in the win at the Flames late night on Friday night, had 2 secondary assists. So the Caps are getting a lot of points from defensemen. Heck, even a Caps defenseman who got hurt got a point. Defenseman Rasmus Sandin, he in the overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night, got hurt off blocking a shot late in the first period. He played for just 5 minutes, 8 seconds, but he had a primary assist. Good game for Caps second-line center Justin Sourdif in the overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night. He scored an even-strength goal, 6:50 into the second period for his 11th goal in this regular season. He had a secondary assist, and he was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 69.7. The Caps with Sourdif on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had 23 shot attempts versus allowing 10 shot attempts. As for the Great 8, Alex Ovechkin, mixed weekend for him. He served as the Caps' top-line left wing in each game. The win at the Flames late night on Friday night. Ovi scored an even-strength empty net goal, 19:07 into the third period for his 21st goal in this regular season, and his NHL record 918th career regular season goal. Also, he had a game-high 10 total shot attempts, including a game-high 6 shots on goal. He did also have a game worst tying 3 giveaways. In the overtime loss at the Oilers late night on Saturday night, Ovi had no points and just 1 shot on goal, though he did dish out a team-high 3 hits. But perhaps the highlight of the weekend for the Caps was their first goal in the win at the Flames late night on Friday night. Caps' fourth-line center Hendrix Lapierre. He scored an even-strength goal, 6:33 into the second period for his first goal in this regular season, snapping a streak of 90 consecutive regular season games without a goal. What a moment that was. Here was the call, John Walton, and you'll also hear a chuckle from analyst Ken Sabrin.
Trying to get the long change here in the second as Carlson comes in and gets a chance in front, and he scores! Hendrix Lapierre picks it up and puts it home! Oh my, with 13:27 to go, it's been 90 games! Lapierre puts it in on a rebound, and it's 1-1 here in Calgary. The biggest smile in Alberta belongs to Hendrix Lapierre.
Yeah, very happy for Hendrix Lapierre. That had to have been painful. A streak of 90 consecutive regular season games without a goal. Also, he in that win at the Flames late night on Friday night was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 83.33. The Caps with Lapierre on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had 15 shot attempts versus allowing 3 shot attempts. So he did commit a third period closing hand on puck minor. The Caps healthy scratches over the weekend with the same at each game. Winger Sonny Milano and defenseman Declan Chisholm and Dylan McElrath. Here was Caps head coach Spencer Carberry during his post-game session with reporters late night on Saturday night on the Caps' 1-0-1 weekend.
So we get 3 out of 4 points. I know we'd like to close that game out, and guys are disappointed with that. But if we play at that level for, into the break and coming out of the break, we'll be in good shape. But we got to maintain that. That's been our challenge all year, to consistently play at that level night after night after night, and that was a good example of it in the last 48 hours.
And the break to which Spencer Carberry referred is the break for the Winter Olympics. The 2025-2026 NHL regular season will pause from February 6th through the 24th to accommodate the Winter Olympics in Italy. First time that NHL players have participated in an Olympics since 2014. Next up for the Caps at the Seattle Kraken, Tuesday night at 10.
Hello, I'm here during the lunch rush with Janice, who owns her own food truck.
Best cheesesteaks in town.
Janice traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for her food truck business. We're here where she needs us most.
They sure are.
We make it so easy for her to save, with customised coverage that grows with her business. Sorry, I just get so emotional talking about saving folks money.
Not this onion I'm chopping?
It's just so beautiful. Oh yeah, no, it's the onion.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Remember when our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards went 5-2 over a 7-game stretch, and we were getting worried about them losing their first-round pick in the 2026 NBA draft, a pick that reportedly is only top 8 protected? The Wizards, since that 5-2 stretch, have lost 9 consecutive games. One game for the Wizards over the weekend, a 119-115 loss at the Charlotte Hornets on Saturday afternoon. The Wizards in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season now are 10-34. They lately have been without a bunch of guys. You look at this loss at the Hornets on Saturday afternoon. Bilal Coulibaly did not play for a 5th consecutive game due to a lower back strain. Trae Young did not play for an 8th time in 8 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on January 9th. He's not playing due to a right knee sprain and a right quadriceps contusion. Chris Middleton did not play due to left foot soreness. Marvin Bagley III was not available for a 2nd consecutive game. He, for this game, was not available due to a thoracic strain. He, for the first game, was not available due to illness. Tristan Vukcevic was not available for a 5th consecutive game. He was listed as dealing with a left hamstring strain. He, for the first 2 games, was listed as being out due to left knee soreness. A.J. Johnson was not available due to illness. And Kim Whitmore is done for the season. The Wizards on January 15th announced that he had started the recovery process for a diagnosed venous condition and would miss the remainder of the season. The Wizards in this loss at the Hornets on Saturday afternoon trailed for all of the second half, though our Wizards did cut an 18-point fourth quarter deficit to 2 points with less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. 4 key young players for the Wizards, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, and Trey Johnson combined for 76 of the Wizards' 115 points as we continued to see good things from key young Wizards players. And how about this? These 4 guys and Will Riley were the Wizards' 5 starting players. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, the Wizards' 5 starting players had an average age of 20.64 years old, marking the youngest average age of a starting lineup for an NBA team in a regular season game since the league began tracking starters in the 1970-1971 regular season. Trey Johnson, he was the Wizards' leading scorer. He, in 36 minutes, 33 seconds as a starter, had 26 points and 6 assists versus 2 turnovers. He went 6 for 15 on threes, just 2 for 7 on twos, and 4 for 5 on free throws. So here was Wizards head coach Brian Keefe during his postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon on Trey Johnson.
It's the work he puts in. This guy's been in our gym, work on his craft. He's just getting used to accustomed to the NBA, and he's growing every game. I don't know what he finished with assists. I think he had 5 in the first half. It's not just the scoring. I'm impressed with the passing. We know he can shoot and make plays for himself, but I've been really impressed with how he's involving his teammates. He draws so much gravity and so much attention, and he's getting others involved, which has been terrific.
Yes, it has been. Alex Sarr, he in 37-17 as a starter, had 24 points, 4 rebounds, including 3 offensive boards and 1 assist versus 2 turnovers. He went 1 for 3 on threes, 10 for 16 on twos, and 1 for 1 on free throws. Bub Carrington, he in 32-16 as a starter, had 15 points, 8 assists versus 2 turnovers and 3 rebounds. He took no twos or free throws. His only shots were threes, on which he went 5 for 11. And Keyshawn George, he was inefficient in terms of his shooting from the field, but he flirted with a triple-double. He in 25-14 as a starter, had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists versus 2 turnovers and 2 steals. He went just 4 for 15 from the field, 2 for 10 on threes, 2 for 5 on twos, also went 1 for 1 on free throws. And a salute to Justin Champagnie. He in 32-07 as a reserve, had 15 points, 11 rebounds, including 3 offensive boards, 3 assists versus 2 turnovers, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. How about that production off the bench? He went 1 for 3 on threes and 6 for 6 on twos. Did not attempt a free throw. Champagny in a fourth quarter that the Wizards won, 34-26, played for all 12 minutes and had 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists versus 1 turnover, and 2 steals. A lot of steals for the Wizards in this game. The Wizards totaled 14 steals and generating 21 Hornets turnovers. But a big item in this game was a big-time free throw discrepancy. The Wizards went 8 for 9 on free throws. The Hornets went 23 for 30 on free throws. The Hornets had 21 more free throw attempts than the Wizards had. Next up for the Wizards, home to the Portland Trail Blazers, Tuesday night at 7. And let's talk college basketball. A new rock bottom for Maryland. It in the 2025-2026 regular season fell to 8-12 overall, including 1-8 in the Big Ten, with a 91-48 loss at number 10 Michigan State on Saturday afternoon. Maryland, in losing by 43 points, suffered its worst Big Ten regular season or postseason loss since joining the conference beginning with the 2014-2015 season. This was a humiliating, embarrassing loss. Yes, Maryland remains without its best player, 6'9" Texas A&M transfer Pharrell Payne. He did not play for a 9th consecutive game due to a right knee injury. It more and more is looking like he will not play again this season, and that to me would be the right way to go. Get him a medical redshirt for this season, what is a lost season for Maryland. The Terrapins in this loss at Michigan State on Saturday afternoon never held a lead. Their offense was terrible. They scored just 48 points, went just 6 for 26 on threes, just 12 for 28 on twos, and just 6 for 11 on free throws, and had 10 assists versus 11 turnovers. If you look at each Maryland season in terms of the regular season and postseason, so the overall season, Maryland went 28 consecutive seasons without finishing with a losing record. The 1993-1994 season through the 2020-2021 season. We're now looking at Maryland likely finishing with a losing record for a third time in 5 seasons. 2021-2022, 2023-2024, and 2025-2026. I went to Maryland. I called Maryland basketball, football, and baseball games for the student radio station, the mighty WMUC. I am a Maryland fan. What has happened to Maryland basketball is sad. The Terps head coach, Buzz Williams, he was put into a tough spot in being hired late in the coaching cycle. I mean, Maryland hiring him was not announced until this past April 1st, and he had to rebuild the team off the departure of Maryland head coach Kevin Willard to become Villanova head coach. But the team that Williams put together is not good. Not at all. And next up for Maryland, home to number 4 Purdue, Sunday afternoon at 1. Good luck with that. A much-needed win for Georgetown. A tremendous comeback win for Georgetown. It, in this regular season, improved to 10-10 overall, including 2-7 in the Big East, with an 81-78 win at Providence on Saturday afternoon. Georgetown snapped a 6-game losing streak. Georgetown overcame a 21-point second-half deficit. The Hoyas in the second half trailed by 21 points at 48-27. The Hoyas then won the rest of the game 54-30, including ending the game on a 42-19 run. Was this a season-saving come-from-behind win for the Hoyas? They in the first half went just 1 for 12 on threes, but the Hoyas in the second half went 8 for 13 on threes. Georgetown's leading scorer was 6'4" Arizona transfer KJ Lewis. He in 27 minutes, 22 seconds as a starter, scored 26 points, including 21 points in the second half. He for the game went 4 for 7 on threes, 6 for 8 on twos, and 2 for 3 on free throws also. He had 5 rebounds and 2 steals. This was Georgetown head coach Ed Cooley during his postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon on what was key for the Hoyas' comeback.
I just thought it was our mindset of relentless preparation that we've had all season. And, we got lucky a couple of times, a couple of bounces went our way that hadn't But, our game plan, we didn't change much of a game plan. We changed a little bit of ball screen coverage, but it was more our approach and our just relentless pressure, right? It just was an attitude adjustment, not so much an X and O adjustment.
Well, Ed Cooley, of course, came to Georgetown via Providence. So Georgetown on March 20th, 2023, announced the hiring of Ed Cooley as Hoyas head coach. Cooley is from and grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. He was Providence's head coach for 12 seasons, 2011-2012 through 2022-2023. And Providence's head coach now is Kim English, who left his job as George Mason head coach to become Providence's head coach. Next up for Georgetown, home to DePaul, Wednesday night at 8:30. I'll talk Virginia Tech, George Mason, George Washington, and VCU shortly. But thank you to all of you who have given this podcast a 5-star rating and who have written nice reviews of the podcast. You on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. 5-star ratings are very much appreciated. Positive reviews are very much appreciated. More now on our college basketball weekend. Losses for Virginia and Virginia Tech to ranked teams. Number 14 Virginia in this regular season fell to 16-3 overall, including 5-2 in the ACC, with an 85-80 loss to number 22 North Carolina at John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia on Saturday afternoon. UVA blew a 16-point first-half lead. Struggled defensively. The Cavaliers allowed UNC to score 85 points, go 10 for 22 on threes and 20 for 39 on twos, and have 17 assists versus 4 turnovers. And things could have been worse. UNC went just 15 for 22 on free throws. So UVA's offense was mixed. The Wahoos went 21 for 37 on twos and outscoring UNC in the paint 40-34. But the Hoos went just 8 for 27 on threes and just 14 for 20 on free throws. And while the Hoos only committed 11 turnovers, so the Hoos got outscored by UNC in terms of points off turnovers, 19-2. UVA lost despite out-rebounding UNC 44-28, including having 16 offensive rebounds to UNC's 8 and thus 17 second-chance points to UNC's 7. UVA's leading scorer was 6'9" Belgian true freshman Testa Ritter. He in 30-54 as a starter had 20 points, 8 rebounds, including 4 offensive boards, 2 assists, and a team best plus-minus rating of +9. He went 1 for 1 on threes and 6 for 10 on twos. He did commit 4 turnovers and did go just 5 for 8 on free throws. But the story of this game from UVA's perspective was the Cavs' defense. Disappointing, although against a good team in UNC. Here was the opening statement of UVA head coach Ryan Odom's postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, Carolina played well. I think we got off to a decent start. They came right back pretty quickly in the first half. Key to the game for us certainly was every time that we missed a shot. I think they were 1.3 points per possession. Right after that, throwing it over the top, kicking it ahead, fouls. Just our transition defense was not where it needed to be throughout the entire night. Some key plays, throughout the game, that certainly we'd love to have back. The defensive intensity was not where we needed it to be. The communication was lacking. Just really, in general, a poor defensive performance overall. And in retrospect, it started out pretty well. Like our guys, it was 40-some, 20-some. Our guys were playing the game the way that it needed to be played at that particular time. The end of the half was a killer, I think 7-1. Beginning of the second half, another killer. We did not come out with enough fire on the defensive side of the ball to make things harder for them. And once it's free and easy, it's hard to get really good and talented teams, out of that mode. And our guys battled. They did a nice job of trying to figure out a way to win the game there. Missed some key free throws, of course, but it was deeper than that. The defensive effort was just not where it needed to be.
All right, next up for Virginia at Notre Dame, Tuesday night at 7. Virginia Tech, it in this regular season fell to 15-6 overall, including 4-4 in the ACC, with an 85-71 loss at number 23 Louisville on Saturday afternoon. Tech trailed for 36 minutes, 41 seconds of the game's 40 minutes. Lost despite going 16 for 30 on threes. The Hokies were excellent on threes and yet lost by 14 points. Why? Well, the Hokies went just 9 for 32 on twos and just 5 for 8 on free throws and committed 13 turnovers. Also, Tech allowed Louisville to go 13 for 33 on threes and 18 for 33 on twos as the Hokies got outscored in the paint 36-14. Tech did generate 15 Louisville turnovers, but Tech got out-rebounded by Louisville 44-31, including having just 9 offensive rebounds to Louisville's 15 and thus just 7 second-chance points to Louisville's 20. 54 of Tech's 71 points came from just 3 guys, Jalen Bedford, Ben Hammond, and Amani Hansberry. They went a combined 13 for 19 on threes. Tech's leading scorer was 6'4 UNLV transfer Jalen Bedford. He in 34-49 as a starter had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists versus no turnovers and 2 steals. He went 6 for 8 on threes, just 2 for 7 on twos and 2 for 2 on free throws. 5'11 Ben Hammond, he in 35-32 as a starter, had 18 points, 5 assists versus 2 turnovers, 2 steals, and 2 rebounds. He went 4 for 5 on threes, just 2 for 6 on twos, and 2 for 2 on free throws. And 6'8 West Virginia transfer Amani Hansberry, he in 31-34 as a starter, had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. He went 3 for 6 on threes. However, he also went 1 for 6 on twos and 1 for 2 on free throws, committed 7 turnovers, and had a game worst plus-minus rating of -18. Tech did remain without 6'5 Tyler Johnson. He did not play for an 8th consecutive game due to a left ankle injury. Next up for Virginia Tech, home to Georgia Tech, Tuesday night at 8. A loss for George Mason. We're not used to saying that. Mason in this regular season fell to 18-2 overall, including 6-1 in the A-10, with a 74-65 loss at Rhode Island on Saturday afternoon. The Patriots trailed for 37 minutes, 9 seconds of the game's 40 minutes. Also in the A-10 on Saturday in terms of teams of the Mid-Atlantic region, George Washington in this regular season improved to 13-7 overall, including 4-3 in the A-10, with an 85-69 win over Richmond at the Charles E. Smith Center in Washington, D.C. And VCU in this regular season improved to 14-6 overall, including 5-2 in the A-10, with a 75-69 win at Davidson on Saturday evening. If you go by the rankings on KenPom.com for this regular season as of games through Saturday, VCU and George Washington were better than George Mason, despite the attention that Mason's getting. VCU, the number 47 team in Division I men's basketball. George Washington, number 70. George Mason, number 78. Next up for these teams, VCU is home to Richmond Tuesday night at 7. George Washington is at number 24 St. Louis Tuesday night at 8. And George Mason is home to Davidson Wednesday night at 7. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday's show, episode 1247. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
For the 3rd time in 10 years, Joe Gibbs and the Redskins scaled the heights of football greatness. The 1991 Washington Redskins are an honor to the team's glorious past and the world champions of pro football's present.